This is pre-grid for the American Le Mans Series here at VIR, Virginia International Raceway. You know, when they announced this race on the schedule, I thought, oh my God, we're going to a club track in the middle of down south. But that really sells this whole thing short. Built first in 1957, refurbished, and now it is a great racetrack. There are some signature things going on here. The flat to the floor S's up toward 2 turns and the tree. It's all very, very awesome. A place I wish I raced. And as cool as it is to have American Le Mans Series here, the real deal is this is the first race after the announcement of the 2014 plans to put Grand Am together with the American Le Mans Series. So we walked around and talked to a few people, a lot of people, to get their impression on what this thing is going to be all about. 3 simple questions. What was your first reaction? What's the best thing that could come from this get-together of racing? And 3, if there's one concern, what is that first concern that you're thinking about that you want to be addressed? That's basically it from VIR. I'm going to go out in the country and enjoy this stuff, and I've already had my biscuit. A New Yorker having biscuits down south, freaking awesome.
We were sitting at the autograph session in Baltimore, and someone leaned over and said, "Hey, did you hear Grand Am and ALMS are going to merge?" And the obvious reaction was, "Who's this crazy person? Yeah, I've heard this before." And as I'm signing autographs, I get one hand on the cell phone looking to make sure that it's actually happening, but it was.
The first time I heard about it, I was on the grid at Baltimore, literally 15 minutes before getting into the car. And, I could see everyone abuzz, all the teams as the fans were walking up and down. So it was shocking to say the least, considering what's been going on for 10 years as competitors.
Well, I found out about the merger at Baltimore. And it was sometime on Sunday, I think on race day, that it sounded officially confirmed, even though it hadn't been announced yet. And it was nice to hear. I come from the IndyCar world, and we went through a merger there with CART and the IRL to create the IndyCar World Championship again and have a unified series. And that's been a plus all around.
Well, I was in Baltimore, the paddock, the ALMS paddock there, and I was cruising around on Facebook on my phone and saw a link, merger, and nobody knew about it. Nobody in the paddock, there was no rumors in the paddock or anything. And I was in the Grand Am paddock the weekend before and no rumors there. So it was a bit of a shock for sure. I mean, we'd heard about it. We knew it was possible for the past 5 years. So finally I saw it in the Speed.com article. And I ran out of the trailer and ran over to the next trailer and showed it to Alex Job. And he said, "What?" And he didn't know anything about it either. So nobody knew about it. It was pretty exciting for sure, because it's just big news.
It was a surprise. We had, some of our executives hadn't heard, but for it to really sink in took a little while. I mean, here are 2 really strong series now joined together.
Wow.
And then,
well, just thoughts about, a lot of things to work out, but I think it could be really good.
Well, some surprise to start with, honestly, and then, some excitement, thinking, well, if we can have a stronger series and working all together, that could be a good thing. So, I think it's very exciting. Just would like to know a bit more about it.
Very excited. Ed Brown and myself were sort of involved in the early stages of that whole thing, and then sort of from our perspective got quiet for a while, and all of a sudden it came together and they announced that they'd been working hard and got the merger done. So I think it's fantastic. I think it's fantastic news for sports cars, and especially long term. It can only be a tide that rises all boats.
Well, I thought it was frankly inevitable. And I think that it's important that if we get it right, it's absolutely the correct thing to do.
Positive, certainly long term, this can be seen as nothing but a positive. Both series are going to be much stronger. I think it's going to be much easier for fans of racing to follow sports cars being just one. Racing in general is a pretty confusing landscape. There's a lot of different ways that people have chosen to go race in different cars, different places, different tracks, different venues, rules. So this is going to help simplify that just a little bit.
My initial reaction was, this is going to be great for sports car racing. I mean, frankly, to take 2 independent series that have been clashing against each other and uniting the greatest tracks in the United States that have the heritage from literally the 50s and 60s between 24 Hours at Daytona and Sebring and Road Atlanta and Watkins Glen. My initial reaction was, wow, this is going to be amazing in the United States.
Well, it gives everybody one umbrella to work under, a unified schedule, a unified set of rules, and I think it's exciting. I mean, for IndyCar, what it's done is eliminated any kind of fan confusion, and everybody will be looking in the same direction going forward.
Yeah, I think it will be a good thing for sure. It's kind of a powerhouse GT series, which is what we need, a road racing series, which is what we need in the States. Now we have, we have two great series, but they're kind of pulling fans to each one, pulling manufacturers to different ones, and now it's all under one roof. And hopefully we can create like a superpower road race series in the States that would be a big deal internationally.
Well, I'd say probably the most positive thing is now you have all the major endurance races under one series, or eventually under one series. So 24 hours of Daytona, Sebring, 12 hours of Sebring, you've got Petit Le Mans, and possibly Le Mans in there as well. For an endurance racing team, what could be better?
Well, better racing, better fields, great schedule, possibly more races, going back to Daytona, and just positive for Corvette.
Well, obviously you want to take the best out of each series and put it together, so now it's probably going to be a bit of a challenge, to make it work, but again, I just went through this, with Champ Car and IndyCar, and at the end of the day, what you want, yes, it's a better series, stronger, more return on investment, and so if all of that is done in the right way, I think everybody can take advantage of it, and make one of the best series of sports car racing in the world.
I just think if they do it all right from the standpoint of which I expect them to do. We've got great teams here, great teams there. They ought to come together with one big great series. We've got great venues. They've got some good venues. Put them together ought to be an incredible schedule. You expect the Grand Am NASCAR side of things to be able to come with a even stronger television package. So all that comes together, and I think you really have a series that has a lot of momentum.
What defines getting it right? What are some of the details that you're going to look for as a team owner?
I think understanding the diversity that exists here, tires, engines, chassis, the whole range of different things. It's not a spec series, and I think that's important to preserve as much of that as we can. And I think speed. I think speed is important. I think the cars have to go fast in order for people to see it.
I have to ask this question because you're running new green technology in the car this race. So what do you look for from this new series in terms of that type of application?
I think that's an example where they've got to take a look at how they can embrace modern technology without it costing an arm and a leg. There are some technologies that clearly do, that take enormous R&D budgets and all of that. And I think that they've got to be careful how they would introduce that. In our case, this was an affordable approach, and we're testing it now, and I hope it works.
There's going to be a lot of people who are left out to dry. If you think about it, we're not going to need drivers doing two series now. So a guy like myself that runs Grand Am and American Le Mans might find himself just doing in one series.
Clearly, after the exuberance of hearing the news, you start to think about what if, and you think through our current format and Grand Am's format, and how are the two going to fuse. Sure, everyone's got concerns, but I'm hopeful that the France family really looks at this, along with Don Panos and how he's run this with Scott Atherton, and incorporates what has made it special, which is manufacturer car support, tire support, literally having that competition and the engineering that goes along between the prototype and the GT class is so critical, I think, to the success of what the ALMS is. When we come to an event and we have 80, 90, 100, 150,000 people coming here, all they do is they talk about the technology of the cars. I'm hopeful, and I'm very hopeful that will remain and incorporate the best of what we do and the best of what they do. Their GT racing is second to none in Grand Am. They really don't get the kudos that they should in Grand Am.
Well, I think as they blend the spirit of both series, I think the only risk is that you do things that might alienate a fan here or there. But I think in general, if you love fast sports cars, if you love seeing Porsche and Ferrari and Lotus and all the top marks going at it wheel to wheel, you're a fan of sports car racing. So I'm really excited.
I race in both series right now, so in a way I'll be racing both series in 2014 too, but not as many races for sure. So my races will get almost cut in half, but it's exciting. I'm looking forward to it.
Well, I think we're really interested in seeing what the classes will be in the series, and then what cars we should build for one of those classes. We have customer cars racing in Grand Am. We support the Ganassi team in Grand Am, and we're here in ALMS with the BMW team RLL. So we have a lot at stake here, and we want to make sure that this all fits together.
Well, I think I think this is going to be led by Grand Am and Jim France, and you can't find a more experienced and successful racing leader than the whole NASCAR system, and it's going to be fantastic to benefit from all of their collective expertise.
Well, I mean, obviously, it's just a balance, because now you have to put like two sets of rules together, So, I mean, we have quite different rules than Grand Am, so that's the big concern, it's the big challenge. By the same token, I mean, ALMS, is aligned with the ACO, and it's something quite important because, for sure, I mean, as far as we're concerned, we want to go to Le Mans, so we want to keep it this way. Especially with the association with Orc Racing that is based on Le Mans. So that for us is something quite important. And then after that, of course, control the cost, cost control. So that are the two main issues, I would say.
This series has got to become more viable, and you have to be able to be easier to attract additional sponsors. And I think starting off with a very solid television package is step number one.
The more diversity they embrace, while establishing clear delineation of classes, I think is important. I think that the fans expect technology, they expect different shapes of cars, different performance of cars, true class racing in a number of different levels, so then they can see the cars that they drive, the cars that they want to drive, and the cars that look like rocket ships that are ready to go into space. And I think that's the biggest concern I've got, is to maintain that kind of diversity.
As a car builder, when do you need to know what you need to build for 2014?
About 3 months ago. We're working on 14 now, but so far we're going in a straight line, but they need to decide real quick.
Now, have they reached out to the manufacturers to talk? Have you reached out to them? What's going on?
I think the powers to be are working on that. We're putting together something to present to them, and then we'll go from there.
VIR, the track is living up to its billing. The race is still on, and it's been great. The action is fantastic. You can see the speed of the cars, and they got a great crowd in the stands. The action in the paddock, as you saw, was equally ecstatic. We talked to a lot of people off camera as well, and the consensus is really, truly, positively hopeful. There's a certain racer cynicism that says, show me the facts, because racers deal with facts. So they're all waiting for decisions to be made. But that process is in play. As it turns out, there are people going to Europe to meet with the ACO. Manufacturers are writing their white papers. The tire companies are planning their discussions with the two sanctioning bodies. And the sanctioning bodies themselves have been coming together to really make this happen. I've been told that some really trusted automotive people, that Jim France has a sincere wish to do the right thing for American sports car racing. The smart guys, the smart asses will say, does Jim know the definition of that? But he's reached out to ALMS. He's got quality people like Mr. Bennett in his organization, and I actually believe it'll all come together. That's not Pollyanna. The real definer will be how they treat DPs. P2 will stay, and it'll evolve. The American sports car racing with the ALMS cars, that GT stuff will definitely stay, and the GT cars will sort in. Everyone's ready for this to be a good thing, and everyone's ready to act and do whatever they need to do to make it a good thing. So that's the report from here. Now we'll go to the Grand Am Racing Line Rock and see what's next.